Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be one of those deep dive videos where we look at opinion from the community and as well ask some very serious questions. The video is going to focus on 3 different things which all have something in common. They're all wanted by players and at the same time some of them cut out the RNG factor to the game. And that is rank down tickets, the Selector and the Nexus Crystal. Now let's face it, when the Nexus Crystal is concerned, this is really good, and especially when it looks to specifically choosing a champion is fantastic. But you are dealt a hand with this, and sometimes you may feel of the 3 that you pick up, one may be of value and the rest not so much, or maybe it's too much of a difficult decision, or maybe you just get some really bad examples of champions. Rank down tickets can be incredibly important, especially considering when there's champions that are being heavily nerfed. And like, we need them as much as when Kabam decided to go, right, well, this champion is overpowered and therefore this needs to be dramatically changed. And the final thing to mention is the Selector. If you've seen the gifting event and know the extent of tier 5 class catalyst, you want to get 50%. But at the same time, there are lesser rarity options in things like, well, this month with the Acorns event, not to mention the fact that we have it in the black ISO market, so you can be able to pick up a specific type of catalyst that's going to be important for your further progression. These 2 resources and this one type of crystal do add a new element and dynamic to the game, where in recent years, up until rank down tickets were first introduced, there was nothing quite like this, and obviously decisions were decisions and RNG was RNG. This then brings us to the point and the discussion of this video. We're going to look at whether or not, and talking about the game's economy, which for me is still a bit weird to talk about. Well, of all the games that I've played over the years, I'm sure games economy has been something that people have used, or game developers have used that term. It just the case is a little bit weird to mention. But yeah, we're going to look at, are these items in enough, and at the same time, are they in too much? And kind of look at the different sides, talking points on the forum, and just things that people have talked to me about. So let's dive into each of these things and come to a conclusion at the end. And welcome you in the comment section to have your say. Let's begin our journey with rank down tickets. They're the oldest that have been put in, and even it was the case on Christmas Day a couple years ago, Kabam gave out rank down tickets, which has been heralded as one of the best things that they've put in. Apart from the fact that we get that consistent amount of stuff, that's actually quite good on Christmas Day in the past, and obviously 2019 was good, 2018 was good as well, and I think it was 2017 where we saw the rank down tickets. But either way, the fact is, when they start putting in those things, people were asking for more, and largely with the decisions made, people were backtracking on them and kind of going, right, well, I'm not happy with this champion, I want to change it. And because changing it was all about doing it willy-nilly on any kind of different type of champion based on, okay, I ranked 4 this, I rank 5 this champion, I need to scale it back. That's the problem. People were kind of going, right, well, I've obviously made a bad decision. But where this decision should be largely focused on is when Kabam make extensive changes to champions that then require more of a need for rank down tickets. But I think the biggest piss take to that is that Kabam have actually said, hey, well, you know that Black Panther from 2016 that you decided to rank up, and kind of going, okay, well, it may have been an option. The fact is, Kabam bend your arm with ranking up champions based on what you have and maybe what you could get in the future that could be very average champions by the whole usage of the rank up gem. Where if you've got a specific year and you've got some pretty average champions, you're effectively going, right, well, what are my options? Do I rank up? Do I not rank up utilizing one of these gems, or what do I do? And most of the time you kind of go, right, well, I've got no other options, I might as well just rank this champion up, which again has future positives and negatives. The negative could be that you ranked up a champion that is not really considered to be a very good one, and the positive being that Kabam could introduce the variant where your stronger version of a specific type of champion that has some kind of bonus based on nodes or interactions could be a really good asset for you going forward. But I digress. Going back to the point, I still think, and I think a lot of players think the same way, that rank down tickets in this current economy, having too much would be a bad idea, with a good idea being that it should be very specific against dramatic changes that Kabam will make or could make to any kind of champion, especially if you've ranked them up under that assumption or that idea that they are some of the best champions in game. Now let's move on to the Nexus Crystal. Now there are some positives and negatives to this one as well with most things. Now the negative, to get that out of the way, is that this had a very limited run and seems to be something that hasn't really gone into any great amount of regularity with the game. The last time this was seen was close to Cyber Monday. And as well, that Cyber Weekend did give us a different kind of option of the Nexus Crystal prior to that, which was more of a kind of a premium lined one and wasn't really that rare. But when it came to the 5-star version, it did give players options and in some cases better RNG, but for others it didn't go according to plan. I myself have had mixed results. As you can see on this forum post, Rider of Hell had a similar bad experience, getting some champions that weren't exactly good. For me, picking up Archangel for the very first time was great, and picking of the 3 champions and having one specifically there that I went, I do want this, was a really nice touch. But again, it does boil down to luck. It does take out aspects of RNG, but RNG can either be favourable with the 3 champions you see or not so favourable, as you can see here. And again, this is one of these situations where I think the community felt very positively towards this new type of crystal and definitely would have liked to have seen more, but for whatever reason it hasn't been a permanent feature or reoccurring feature, and more than likely will be this thing we might see it once every quarter as opposed to say once every month, which would have been something that would be a little bit nice. It's definitely something I think could be really sparking up the black ISO market, which at the moment has become a little bit stale, especially considering that it went and was introduced in about the summer of last year. Okay, now let's move on to the final thing, and that is the Selector. Now back a while ago, when we were opening up our crystals, we would get this little pop-up of something called a Selector. And it was only a little while later, when the black ISO market came out, that this was more readily available for players. But it's only very specific on the lower rarity. That's the thing you can get the most. And it was only in the last few months we've seen it's more of a case you can get more of the bigger rarity of items from the Selector. Now it used to be a case you could trade in your tier 4 class catalyst to get a chance at RNG to get another type of class of catalyst out of it. I know, a bit of a mouthful, but the fact is that was the only way to get something, and it didn't guarantee you the type that you actually wanted, because let's face it, a lot of the times you were getting one specific type of class catalyst. And this month sees a unique thing in the Squirrel solo event, which was all about trying to get a tier 4 class catalyst Selector, and this is great. This is absolutely what a lot of players want to see. Especially if you're low of one specific type of tier 4 class catalyst, this is a great opportunity to get that topped up, and especially with other champions and rarer champions and higher ranked champions costing so much of tier 4 class catalyst, this was a fantastic opportunity. But obviously there's not a tier 5 version, and that's something that players really wanted to see, especially going into the gifting event at the end of 2019. So RNG played a big factor if you were doing stuff with Act 6, but when it came to the gifting event, as you can see here, one of the top prizes on offer was to get 50% of a tier 5 class catalyst, which you could actually get a Selector for. So if I wanted to get closer to getting my next rank, a rank 3 6-star, and I could specifically choose, then I would absolutely be all over this event, which obviously people had a massive load of criticism for because of different elements. Number 1, talking about the game economy, and number 2, talking about the fact that it wasn't based on skill. This was largely based on you spending a lot of money. And when game economy is mentioned, it is difficult to get around the idea of why Command mentioned that, especially when in some ways it's contradictory to put out something like this as rewards with a Selector. But at the end of the day, this could all be about the money side of things. I understand games don't run for free. Developers need to pay their staff, and at the same time, for what is run with the game, yes, it doesn't run on nothing. It does need money for it. But at the same time, with such an event that had a lot of backlash, especially with things like fraudulent activity, bit of kind of unscrupulous bits of work, and again, we're not going to go too much into that because we've done countless videos on that particular subject, and something does need to change if we do something similar this year. Now I'm going to end the video on my opinion, but I do welcome you in the comment section to have your say on matters, because at the end of the day, this is an open discussion for you all. So the main thing to point out from my perspective is that of the three, they're all great, but I feel the Nexus Crystal is alright, but again, it goes back to some aspects of RNG. It just gives you a better chance of many champions to have. Of the three, maybe one, maybe two, maybe even three to choose from that are acceptable, but at the same time, you can get 3 bad champions. Also, when rank down tickets are concerned, it should be specific to champion-based changes. If we're going to thrust a load of rank down tickets out into the world, it just kind of renders things like rank up gems ultimately pointless. Well, let's face it, like, the fact is they become specifically, you rank up them, but at the same time, yes, you could be in that position of going, look, I could have some bad champions from 2014, 15, 16, which I then have no value to then ranking up unless something comes by. So you kind of look, right, they're all about arena grind. With the best of the three, in my opinion, being the Selector. But it does come with restrictions and the way that Kabam understand their own game economy to what they've obviously put out in things like the gifting event for 2019. Some players did feel that the value of getting a 50% tier 5 class catalyst, Selector was kind of undermining their efforts in things like Act 6, but I didn't have a Selector at all, and obviously it just felt for a lot of players that it wasn't there. But you also have to understand, for people that spend money, they want to see something of value to what they're buying into, especially for the gifting event, which, let's face it, in 2020 needs to dramatically change. So an event similar to it in value would be a good thing, and I'm sure that Kabam will work towards understanding how they sort out things like fraudulent activity. I say that, it's been like that for the last couple of years, so, work does need to be done, and especially over this year. You've got now, 11 months to get it sorted, so, fingers crossed that now it's a case you are working on that particular problem. So there we have it, guys. The Selector is my personal favourite, but I understand that Kabam don't want to put out any kind of more rarer ones into things like the Black ISO market and also having them readily available. But it would be nice to have them more available, especially with the extent of how many you need of one given type. And sometimes it's nice to just go, do you know what? I may not be doing alliance-based participation, so it's nice to kind of pick up this. But what are your thoughts? Are the rank down tickets your favourite? Are the RNG related Nexus crystals your favourite? Kabam, could they do a 6-star version? That would be nice to see in the future, but we'll see. We will see on that front, especially with me picking up those 4 kind of average champions. In any case, check out some content here and here. Have your say in the comment section down below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.